Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks. This is your host, Irlianna Samsara of StarSound Astrology. So it's episode 148, and today is a very auspicious day. What we're going to talk about is the Pluto return and really the outrageous astrology documentary that I want to share with you. I mentioned a little bit in the earlier podcast, but it's airing tonight. And so what I want to talk to you about is it's certainly a very auspicious day on many fronts. So if you've been watching the podcast, the last 3 episodes I devoted to the USA Pluto return. So you can hear about that in depth with the previous episodes. Pluto being the planet of transformation, breakdown, breakthrough, complete regenesis, renewal, reprogramming, right? First facing death, the falling away, and then the rebirth. And so on this day today, February 22nd, 2022, is the exact, to the degree and minute, where Pluto was in the sky when the founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. Obviously, that's big, right? This has not happened in 248 years. That's how long it takes Pluto to go around through all 12 signs. And it is now back. And as you can see in the news, we are definitely at this point, this tipping point of reprogramming and renewal, healing our shadow, our pain body, the collective pain body, our individual pain bodies. And in the process, this incredibly cathartic moment where we are just rebirthing ourselves into the highest potential that we can be if we choose that. Anyway, like I said, you can go back to the previous episodes and read more about that. But what I wanted to share with you, just short podcast today, this outrageous documentary is based on the work of Richard Tarnas, and I have read pieces of his work, Cosmos and Psyche. This is like essential reading for anybody that's interested in astrology. It's completely written for the layman, and it was a result of 30 years of work. So the 10-part documentary series which airs tonight, is based on this work. And so shout out to the producers and all who have made this happen. So anyway, what I want to share with you is, let me show you what this particular, I've got the link below, so just make sure you check that out and you can sign up. But what you have to do is you sign up and you give them your email address and they email you the link to watch. It's going to be live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, every Tuesday, starting today, Tuesday the 22nd. And it'll go on for 10 weeks. And the link is good for 24 hours to watch for free. I don't know if they have plans, what they're going to do with it going beyond that, but at least you can watch this for free. I encourage you to check it out, have watch parties. I'm going to have a watch party myself. So it's a very big tipping point, because this is where astrology, where the rubber meets the road. This is where this documentary series is explaining how in the course of events, world events, they show the planetary alignments, how they line up, especially the outer planets we're talking about, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, how they, especially in this documentary, I think they're focusing on Uranus and Pluto, the planet of revolution and change, and then the planet of reprogramming and transformation. So when they meet up at certain alignments, that's when major world events happen. And so they are going to show us this through world history, the women's suffragette movement, even like the invention of the printing press and the IBM introducing the mainframe computer. Like there are certain alignments where history, as I heard somebody say once, history doesn't repeat itself, but it damn well rhymes. And so by recognizing this connection between planetary movements and world events, we can come to see patterns, the cycles of nature and history, that we are not just limited to this third dimensional, the world, the material realm of Earth. We have this divine connection with the planets and these planetary movements. Creating the weather, so to speak. So anyway, let me show you what this looks like here on the screen. And here it is. This is called the changingofthegods.com world premiere. So you see, you can just click on this link and they'll send you the link to watch later live. Is there a correlation? Yes, of course there is. And they examine that, like they're not coming in from, this is how it is. They're just asking the question, right? And seeing this incredible synchronicity. So here we are, here's some examples, right? The French Revolution with Pluto, Uranus and Pluto. Here's the women's suffragette, here's the women, Black Lives Matter, the civil rights movement, and women's liberation, as we called it in the 60s and 70s. And then here's X. They changed their name, non-binary, was Emma Gonzalez, X Gonzalez, and the kids from Parkland. Here's Yolanda Scott King, the granddaughter of MLK. So again, we see these outrageous, these are just 4 examples of this outrageous social movements. It uses, for those of you who are listening on the audio, I'm just going to read you this, on Spotify and iTunes. The Changing of the Gods is a 10-part documentary series that uses the lens of archetypal astrology, the astrology of archetypes, right, patterns of consciousness, to paint a sweeping journey across historical cycles of revolution and world-changing transformations that deliver us into the, quote, the fierce urgency of now. And then they show, Uranus-Pluto alignments throughout history. And so outrageous, this is where we find scientific and technological innovation, social and economic justice, women's rights movements, Black liberation, new paradigms, just paradigm shifting. And so anyway, really a wonderful folks. Here's some great publicity we have from the New York Times. As you probably are aware, over the last several years, especially when I saw it with the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle in 2016, 2017 into 2018, there was this enormous shift into, with Uranus is a major player with astrology, so is Mercury. And so, but Uranus, Leo, the Aquarius, Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle, where Uranus being the modern ruler of Aquarius is, we saw a huge shift where astrology really moved into the mainstream. Well, now we're going to take that even higher. We're going to an even higher plateau with this information being distributed to the masses. So yeah, so I'm really, as you can tell, I'm really excited about this. So even if you watch this video after today, after the 22nd of February, you can still jump on and get the links for the rest of the series. And so to just the wonder of astrology and how that works, and maybe sharing this with friends who, I don't know, maybe they're skeptical, or they just don't understand, or we certainly weren't privy to this growing up, right? But this is a golden era for knowledge and wisdom, and certainly esoteric wisdom that has been hidden for centuries. And so it is like really our shining moment. I very much liken this happening now to what happened to yoga. For thousands of years, yogis practiced yoga in India and Tibet, and in the East. And it wasn't until really in the 20th century when Vivekananda and Paramahansa Yogananda came to the West, and Paramahansa Yogananda came to the West 100 years ago and started the Self-Realization Fellowship in Los Angeles in 1920. And it began this huge yoga, a renaissance of yoga. So it was bringing this esoteric discipline that had been kept alive through the centuries in monasteries and ashrams to the masses. And I feel that this is the same thing that is happening now with astrology, where it had been known to many then for many centuries, kept underground really and kept alive. And now it is this flowering into mass consciousness. So I just leave you with that. I'm so excited. Like again, and if you'd like to read about it too, again, this is the book that the documentary is based on, Cosmos and Psyche, Intimations of a New World View. Richard Tarnas is the author, and he is what was obviously this documentary is based on his work, and we'll probably see him on camera. So that's all for now. Oh, by the way, yes, my next, I'll be doing Pisces season. Welcome to Pisces season, Sun in Pisces. Here's one example, if I may share this before closing with you. I have my software up here. The trucker convoy you know, we've heard about the one in Canada, and now there's one that is moving toward the United States, Washington, D.C. No surprise, right? Given the alignments of Pluto and this desire for democracy and all voices being heard. What I find interesting, and I'll won't go into this delineation on this podcast, but I will say that, you know, here you see the natally, here's the day they leave from Adelanto, California. We've got the sun in co-present with Jupiter, the planet of expansion, Neptune and dreams and idealism, with 11th house, group consciousness. So you can see the flavor and what is driving this. However, I want to say that, oh yeah, let me show you something else here. Jumping around. Just a second. Okay, so I just want to pull this up, and here I'm not taking any side one way or the other. All right, I'm just simply saying, like, here is a very interesting this press release that I came across in the news. It linked to this press release, and they're calling it the People's Convoy. This is the American truckers moving in a peaceful protest towards Washington. And if you go to this website, what is the name of this thing? thepeoplesconvoy.org, and you can read this press release. Really amazing. I want you to read between the lines, because you'll vibe out where they're coming from. This is nothing we've seen before. This is not like Trumpers versus, you know, Biden, or one group versus Republican versus Democrat. You know, we were so divided a year and a half, 2 years ago when we had the presidential election. Probably the most polarized of all. And you know that when a country or society becomes that polarized, it obviously has to break. It's like the string. If you take a piece of string, two sides, but then you link them together, right? So there's this coming together here, really amazing. Truckers and blue collar workers joined by freedom loving supporters from all walks of life, right? So it's blue collar, white collar, lawyers, doctors, truckers, former military service people, mothers, fathers, children, right? And then here we are about all party and state lines, unified across all party and state lines. Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Mormons, agnostics, Blacks, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, Republicans, and Democrats. Whoa. Talk about unity consciousness. This is amazing. All are welcome. There is not one shred of anger or frustration in the words of this press release. You check it out yourself to see. So that let's just put my desire is that we put the highest light of truth wherever you stand, however you feel about this. It said it's to protest vaccine mandates, but I think we'll see when you read the press release, this is way more than a vaccine mandate, yes or no. This is like breaking, that's like the catalyst that is bringing about something larger. And so this is that opportunity to see beyond that, forest from the trees, and come together in a higher paradigm shifting framework. So anyway, I invite you to take a look at that and feel it out for yourself and see. I'd love to hear from you. You can always leave your comments below. So anyway, just wanted to share that. It's so interesting that this is all coming together when the astrology documentary, The Changing of the Gods, and at the same time as this trucker convoy is leaving tomorrow, February 23rd, and then making its way to Washington. And it's supposed to be there the first weekend, like Saturday night, I think, in March 5th. So, let's see what happens. We can just send light for the highest truth. Whatever is the highest outcome that will benefit all of us, like the important thing is to not be attached to a result with anything when we are going through transformation, that we are simply guided by the highest divine truth, and wherever the chips may fall, it's that letting go process of being in faith and being in our heart and knowing that and standing for the highest potential, that's really all we can do, right? But anyway, yes, we are in a very exciting time. So that's all I wanted to share for today. It's always great to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. Yes, I'll be talking about Pisces season, because obviously this is a very interesting Pisces season with the Sun, Jupiter, and Neptune all in Pisces. Very, very visionary and incredible season here that we have from late February to late March. So anyway, I'll be talking about that in the next podcast. So very much love to you all. And by the way, shout out to Foxtail Coffee. My rugs were being the moon's in Scorpio right now, so I'm getting my rugs cleaned in my house, and I had to let them dry, and I had to go somewhere to record this podcast. So here I am. The lovely folks at the Foxtail Coffee Company turned their music off for me. Thank you, thank you. So I'm letting them come back on. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you all so much for listening. This is StarSound Speaks, Irlianna Samsara, StarSoundastrology.com. Thank you all for listening. Namaste.